become an architect. I'm still a developer, but I want to become an architect. Okay, what can you do in the next year to make a step in this direction? Because it's not like a wish list and you put it and then it immediately happens. What are the first steps? What you can start doing immediately this year so that you can learn? What kind of topics you will take in the next planning sessions with the team so that you can enhance your skills? And these are the questions that the person have to have it in the mind all the time, so when the planning of the team starts, he will go there and say, there is a very unknown topic, and there is actually a lot of things to learn about architecture in this topic, maybe I'll take it, and then that's something that will drive me a step forward. And the last thing about the stakeholders, and then I'll go for questions, or do you want the questions now?
Let's go for stakeholders.
Stakeholders, okay. So stakeholders, what are the genuine needs of any stakeholder of our development?
To finish the product on time.
Okay. The need behind that on time.
To get more value
Mm-hmm.
for what they're trying to achieve.
Okay. What else? Who is the product owner here? Someone? Our stakeholders, they want to be successful in their business. They are the one who know the business very well. But sometimes when they ask for a software to support them in the business, they don't know always how the software should look like, because we are the experts on how the software should look like. And the genuine need of the stakeholder is to be successful, and we need to fulfill that need. And because they don't know other ways, that they come up with a very strict contract and being on time, and it's because they think this is the way they will get it. And they haven't saw any other way, you know? Even if this way failed several times ago, they still carry in their current image of the world that I need to be even more strict in the requirements, I need to be even more strict and more controlling so that I can get it, you know, I can get what I need. And, you know, how you can turn them into the other direction is to start to showing them this value very quickly and the progress much more often, because this will give them the impression that they will get what they need at the end, especially if we started with the most valuable features in the beginning, and they will have the control to say when to stop. And also if you give them the control to say what to replace, because when they wrote the specification in the beginning, they thought something, and when they see the product, they will start, it's not exactly what I expected. And when you give them the flexibility so that they can change it for the better of their product and for the better fit of their need, that's what is actually changing the whole game for the stakeholders. I don't say it's easy, you know, it's the same thing as you apply SCRUM. You need to educate them, you need to give them time to adapt, and you need to set up a frame where you give both of the sides the time to adapt to this new method. And then at some point they might be willing to say, okay, let's start, and we'll work at least for 6 months and we'll see when to stop the project, and then they will not care so much for the baby anymore. But it takes time, and they are thinking. They haven't saw other way. We need to show them. We need to show them very committed team who is delivering. We do planning, we forecast, and we deliver. And we ask them important questions for the need so that we even over-deliver of what they expected. And this is how we win them on our side. And they will be willing then to work in this new model. But it takes time, it takes education, it takes this environment that we can make both sides, we can make mistakes. We have to allow them to be able to make mistakes with the prioritization and then fix it. But on the other side, we might be able to make mistake with the estimation and then we fix it over the time. Both sides. We learn from each other. Okay. Questions?
Well, my first question would be actually, SAP is a big organization, and then it's not like somebody decides and just from the next day they start doing Scrum. Well, I was interested, did anybody from the top of the company said, so our target for the next year, and opposing what you just said, like putting the target for everybody, you must use Scrum, or it was vice versa, like people from like the development part started.
It was from both sides, but it started from the bottom, because the pain in the bottom was really, really high. We were not able to integrate well between the teams, because any product you take, it's between 5, 10, 15, 20 teams that they need to work together. There were a lot of bugs, there were a lot of problems, and we were not able to solve them with the current methodology. And there were as well, you know, when it started, also all the plannings were for 3-year cycles, you know, so someone did the planning, they put the requirements, maybe they even left the company, then the requirements came with the projects for the development, they sometimes even don't know whom to ask, what was the initial intention of the customer for this requirement, then we did something, we delivered after 3 years, and the customer says, that's not what we wanted. But as I said, we started with the presentation to the management and with pilots all over, and we started slowly. Actually, it didn't take 1 year. The board at the end gave us 4-year guarantee that no matter what kind of things will happen in the organization, because the whole organization reshaped, there will be no one fired because of the lean transformation. And that was a guarantee for the people to keep on experimenting on how we can work in the large scale as well. Because when we started, now if you look for scaling Scrum, there are at least 3 very good, tested, documented frameworks how you can scale. When we started, there was 0. They learned with us. So,
and at the end, did you get a report of how Scrum changed the organization, and if you meet your deadlines, but your aims and targets?
Yeah, there was, at least for one of the product lines, there was a report between 2 versions of the product. One was delivered the traditional way with plan-driven development, and the other was the new way, but it's like comparing apples and pears, you know, because the other was faster with smaller feature set, but then there were several additional features coming later. But at least what we could compare was the quality, the acceptance of the customers, and also the bugs after the delivery, because the phase was faster. And what also happened, I mean, from the beginning, we started with 1 year. So we reduced 3 years to 1 year. Then we reduced to 3 months deliveries, and at the moment their teams were delivering every 2nd week. So that's the change. That's a huge change. From a company coming with a planning that lasted almost a year so that they can plan what they can deliver, to something so lean that you can deliver every 2 weeks. It's not huge features, but you can be very fast with the most important features. Okay?
Can you share some situations that didn't turn very well, and how you coped with them?
There were many situations where, for example, in this pilot phase, there were people, even after the initial training, there were people who said, oh, but the Scrum Master job is actually like for admin assistant. We will find one admin assistant who will schedule all the meetings, do some meeting minutes, and that's it. And they failed. They failed badly because even after the training, there was not the good understanding of the people what does it mean. And another thing that I still believe SAP is failing is still in this area of Scrum Masters, because Scrum Master is considered a role and not a job. And therefore, even if it's very challenging and very good step to a management position, a lot of people will try it and then leave it because they say, I don't see my future growth. But other things are working, you know, so you cannot ever change, say that if only this one will be changed, everything will be perfect.